What's happening, everyone? Sam, aka FIFA Brit from Goal Boys, and yes, like I promised in my Saturday Soccer Slate video, we are back with a video to cover Sunday as well. No more long delays between videos, the content is coming, and you can't stop it whether you like it or not. Speaking of likes, go drop a like on the video, and if you aren't subscribed to the Goal Boys YouTube channel, go ahead and do that now. Anyway, let's dive into the Sunday Soccer Slate. The first game I want to talk about is in the Premier League. We only have a couple of games to talk about today, so let's get into them. Southampton against Liverpool. Now, Liverpool are in ridiculously good form right now. Probably way better than anyone expected. Most people expected City to dog walk the league, and, some people said it would be Arsenal's year. I'm not sure if that was me. I don't remember saying that. If I did, shh, you didn't hear me say that. But most people expected City first, Arsenal second, and Liverpool would probably challenge for third. They had a new manager this season in Arne Slot after Klopp left the club after years in charge. It was a very questionable time in their future. No one really knew at the start of this season if Liverpool would be able to continue their success that they had under Klopp, and yet Slot has taken over, and some say he's got them looking even better than they were under Klopp. So, yeah, the praise is warranted here. They are doing ridiculously well in the Champions League. They are doing ridiculously well in the Premier League. And today they play Southampton, who just came up from the Championship. Now, the problem is, and if you guys have seen my videos before, you probably know what I'm going to say here. Liverpool are priced as good as they are. There is very little value to be found here. Salah to score an assist is ridiculously juiced. Liverpool's money line is like minus 300. And I can't even say that there's value in Southampton scoring because they don't do it very consistently, and Liverpool have a ridiculously good defense. They have the best defense in the Premier League this season. So really, as much as I would love to give you something, this is really a game where I say, hold off, it's probably not worth betting. The only thing that looks remotely bettable is under 3.5, which is usually never bettable because 3.5 is a very high total, and even when the total is set at 3.5, it's usually very much juiced to the under at like minus 170, minus 180. You can get under 3.5 for about minus 140. And even then, I'm not sure I could sell you on that because I could absolutely see Liverpool scoring 3 or 4, and at that point it's really just a matter of do you think Southampton can scrape a goal, which they could do. 3-1's a very doable scoreline, so is 4-0, okay? So even though 3.5 is a very high total, and whenever I see an under 3.5 that's actually bettable, I will always consider it because 4 goals is a lot of goals. But this game really feels like a no bet from me just because Liverpool are priced accordingly as an incredibly good team, and Southampton are priced accordingly as being pretty shit. And I agree with both of those statements. So frankly, I don't really want to touch it. That being said, the other Premier League game going on Sunday is a game I am quite interested in, mostly because it is Ipswich against Man U, and Man U's new manager Amorim has finally arrived from Sporting. Now, he was hired by Man U about a month ago, but he insisted on playing his last Champions League game with Sporting and then coming to Man U after the international break. By the way, that last Champions League game for Sporting was against Man City, in which Sporting scored about 4 goals. Victor Gyökeres scored a hat-trick against Man City. So if that's not a way to endear yourself to the Man U supporters, just seeing Sporting absolutely dick down on Man City in the Champions League, which they hadn't lost in years. You gotta love it. And now Amorim is finally taking over at Man U. Now Man U are away from home, but they are priced at around minus 160 to win the game. Now, like I mentioned in my video for Saturday's Soccer Slate, with a couple of those money lines, Barcelona, Aston Villa, Fulham, where I wouldn't necessarily take them as a straight bet, but if you wanted to parlay them with something else, like if, for example, you wanted to pair Liverpool money line with Man U money line, now we're looking at something interesting. I really do think Man U win this game, which again, I'm saying with a fair amount of confidence, and I never thought I would say that about this Man U side. That being said, Ten Hag and Amorim are very different managers. Amrin has been playing a really fascinating setup with Sporting. Sporting are playing really well. I mean, domestically, they're expected to play well. It is the Portuguese league, and they are one of the few big teams in Portugal. They should always be up and around the top part of the table. But playing well in this Champions League, especially with this new Champions League format, the open group stage, they are doing ridiculously well. Obviously, it helps that Victor Gyökeres is in the form of his life right now. His transfer over the summer, whether he stays, whether he goes, and he will most likely go, and if he does go, where he will go to, that will be the transfer saga of summer 2025. But for the time being, he's still at Sporting. I mean, people are wondering if he's going to come to Man U now that Amrin is at Man U. We will see. But yeah, he has had Sporting playing ridiculously well. They play this really fascinating 3-4-2-1 system, which, if you've listened to my podcast, The Final Third, by the way, link to that is in the description below. Go check it out. If you've listened to the podcast, you've heard me talk about my love for the 3-4-2-1 formation. I'm really fascinated to see how he applies it to Man U. It's not a formation that Man U have used before, at least not in recent history. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that pans out. So, I could say this is a game where you probably shouldn't bet, and if you want to observe and see how they play under the new manager, I think that's a fair enough assumption. But they're playing Ipswich, a newly promoted side, who, even though they've been playing Look, I'm not going to say they've been playing well, but they haven't been losing as many games as I thought they would. They've been eking out a lot of draws. So if you wanted to sell me on a draw, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. But you've got players playing for a new manager. You typically see a big boost in performance when players are playing for a new manager. I mean, even under Van Nistelrooy, who was the interim manager between Ten Hag and Amrin taking over, Man U looked like a completely different side. They were attacking really well. They were actually scoring loads of goals. It was really interesting to see. And I'm expecting more of the same playing for their actual new manager, even though they're playing away from home, playing against this newly promoted side. So, again, it always depends on starting lineups, but Bruno to score or assist, if you can get that at decent odds, I like that. If Garnacho starts, which I really hope he does, Garnacho has been playing pretty well recently. I like him as well. I really don't know how he's going to line up this front three. So, again, you've got to wait for lineups, got to see who he's actually going to start. And even then, just be careful of subs. You know, he's going to be rotating a lot, I would imagine, to try out new players in this new system and see how they play in the Premier League game. So, again, if you wanted to not touch this game and just see how they play under their new manager, I think that's a very fair thing. But if you just want my opinion, I do think Man U will win this game, and minus 160 on their money line is a really good price to pair with something else. Now, two more games we're going to talk about for the Sunday slate. The first one is in La Liga, and of course we're going to talk about Real Madrid. They are playing, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, I think it's Leganes or Leganes, something like that, Leganes. Now, my Spanish pronunciation is not brilliant, in case you can't tell, so I'm just going to call them Leganes. Leganes are playing at home, Madrid are playing away. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Madrid's concerns this season, allow me to remind you, they're not playing very well to begin with. They haven't figured out how to maximize Mbappe and Vini, and they also have a ridiculous amount of players out injured. Carvajal and Militao are gone for the season. That's two starting defenders. Lucas Vazquez is out. Tchouameni is out. Rodrigo is injured. I don't know if he's going to be fit for this game, but he is listed as injured. And David Alaba is still out. He's been out for the whole season and he is still injured. So, here's what we're dealing with. There is a rumour that Fede Valverde is going to be playing at right back. If that's the case, if you can find a sportsbook that offers unders on shots, look at his unders. Because even though he loves to roam forward as a centre mid, his shooting chances were pretty 50-50 at best. He would either be playing incredibly advanced and would take 2 or 3 shots, or he's forced into a more defensive role depending on the situation in the game, and he doesn't take a single shot all game. And his shots line is usually priced at around 1.5. If you can get under 1.5 shots at decent odds, I'm talking anywhere close to even money, but I would play that up to like minus 140. I think that's a massive, massive play if he's playing at right back. It's really funny because I usually do the opposite when I'm taking advantage of shots lines. Typically, my best way of maximizing profit on shots lines is finding defenders or midfielders who are playing as attacking mids or wingers and taking their shots, laddering their shots because they're playing in a much more advanced position. That's worked out really well for me before. This is a much less common situation where attacking players are forced to play more defensively. One, because that's a rarer occurrence, and two, because a lot of sportsbooks just don't offer unders on shot, which is really frustrating. But if you have a book like Bet Rivers or Ballybet, they're both Canby books. I believe Bet365 offers unders, or at least they might offer unders on team shots. I don't know if they do on player props. But if you can find any book that offers unders on player shots, if Valverde is playing as a right back, take his unders on shots. I have imagined he will be pretty strict in his defensive duties. I don't think he'll be roaming forward significantly, even though he does do that as a midfielder. I think if he's playing right back, he will be forced to lock in as a right back, and if anything, the role of a right back in the Madrid squad is crossing the ball rather than shooting the ball. So if you look at his assist, that's probably still fair game, but the problem is he's going to be priced as a midfielder, most likely. So the value you'll be getting is probably not as brilliant as it should be. I think his unders on shot is good. Outside of that, Madrid's defense is not brilliant. Like I said, Militao is out. Vázquez is out. Not that Vázquez was very good at defending anyway. Carvajal is out. They've got midfielders playing in the back. They've got teenagers, apparently, going to be playing in defense. Both teams to score is plus money. Leganes are playing at home. Do you really think Madrid are keeping a clean sheet with a B-tier defense away from home? Even in La Liga, which they should be dog walking. Personally, no, I don't think so. So assuming that assuming that Valverde is playing in defense, assuming they do have youth players playing at centre-back next to Tchouaméni, if that back line is looking pretty suspect, which I do suspect it will be, because I don't know who they can actually play, both teams to score at plus money, all you really need is the team at home to get a goal for that to hit. If Madrid don't score, that's embarrassing. But if you are worried about Madrid scoring somehow, you could just take Leganes' team total over 0.5. So them just to score one goal, and it's about minus 110. I think it's even better than that. I think it's like minus 105. Shop around, get the best odds, but I think that's a brilliant angle. I will lock that in if everything I'm saying about the Madrid lineup is accurate, which I do believe it will be. So if that's the case, I'm absolutely going to lock that in. I think that's a brilliant bet. The odds of them getting shut out at home against this very weak Madrid side, I think, are pretty slim. I will absolutely take a gamble on that. The last game I'm going to talk about for the Sunday soccer slate is Napoli against Roma. This is a really interesting game because, one, it's a game between two pretty big Italian clubs, even though Roma are in poor form right now. And two, because like Man U, Roma are playing with a new manager. Now, Roma's managerial situation has been all sorts of fucked up recently, but they've just hired Claudio Ranieri. He's returning to Roma. He's managed Roma before in the past. Now he is coming back to salvage their season. So let's see what he can do. Now, getting thrown into league leaders Napoli in your first game away from home is a pretty rough fixture. But like I said, you do typically see a boost in performance from players when they're playing for a new manager. That being said, Napoli at around minus 140 at home, even though it's a little bit juicy, I do think Napoli win this game. I don't think Ranieri is going to be able to get in and fix the situation right away. He hasn't had much time to fix this Roma side. They've been away for the international break, the players that did get called up, and he's only just been hired. So he hasn't really had much time to train with them to get ready for this game, and Napoli are leading the league for a reason. They're playing incredibly well. And they're at home, minus 140. I think that's pretty good. If you don't want to play that straight, if it's too juicy for you, fair play. Parlay it with something else. We've been here before. We talked about it with the Man U money line today, and we talked about it with several teams' money lines in the Saturday video. Napoli most likely will win this game, and, look, you can get all sorts of creative with, I don't know how to say his name, but I'm going to call him Special K, the guy that plays for Georgia, the country, not the American college football team, by the way. It's like Kvitz-Scalia, something like that. I call him KK or Special K, that works just fine. If Lukaku is playing, obviously Lukaku's always a goal threat. And by the way, Scott McTominay in the midfield, if you can get his shot on target at plus money, he has been cooking recently for Napoli, and I bet Man U are missing him deeply because he's been playing really well. So if you can get a Scott McTominay shot on target at plus money as well, I think that's worthy of a play as well. So yeah, that is the Sunday soccer slate. This video is shorter than the Saturday one because at the end of the day, there is less soccer on Sunday than there is on Saturday. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It means you don't have to spend as much time watching this gorgeous face, and you have loads of time to go and place your own bets, place our bets. You can do whatever you like. Place soccer. You can bet on American football. You can bet on the NBA. You can do whatever you want. And if you need advice on what to bet in those sports, sign up for Gold Boys today. The link will be in the description below. Go to goldboys.com. It is a brilliant time to sign up. We have so many brilliant sports going on. And yeah, best of luck with all your bets this weekend. And have a good one, guys. As always, if you have a problem with gambling, don't forget to call the number 1-800-GAMBLER. And yeah, best of luck with all your bets. Enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your Sunday. And have a good week, guys. I will catch you in the next one.